The Auckland graffiti artist who painted a poignant mural of a victim of the mosque attacks has been invited to paint another tribute, this time in Christchurch. Paul X Walsh's painting in Avondale is accompanied by the words "Remember the Heroes" and the date the attacks happened. The image struck a chord on social media, and now Paul has been offered flights to Christchurch, accommodation and a wall to paint on in the city. Joanna Mackenzie has the story.
Paul X Walsh painted the image of Naeem Rashid because he felt he needed to do something in response to the attacks of March the 15th. The Pakistani national was one of the 50 people who died in the mosque attacks, hailed as a hero after he tried to tackle the gunman to save the lives of others.
For me, this was more of almost a visceral response. Like I sort of had to do something to express my personal feelings about what happened, and that's why I had to go for it straight away.
He says the messages of support he's received have been overwhelming.
The amount of attention it got online and the amount of messages I got, really humbling. I feel like artists sort of have a sense to try and reflect how the community feels at times, but that really feels like the case here.
In an interview on RNZ, Mr Walsh mentioned that he'd like to do a similar tribute in Christchurch. Victoria Pomeroy, who owns Pomeroy's and Little Pom's Cafe on the corner of Kilmore Street and Fitzgerald Avenue, heard the interview and immediately thought of a wall that will suit.
I rang my daughter, Ava, who manages Pomeroy's and Little Pom's, and said to her that that Paul was looking for a space and that perhaps this big red building with such a high profile on the corner here could perhaps be just right as something to offer to the community, to Christchurch and to all.
The wall's been standing since the late 1800s and has about 40,000 cars pass by it each day. As to what the tribute will be, Mrs Pomeroy is happy to be led by Mr Walsh and Naeem Rashid's family.
My thought around that was that would be his choice and what felt right. Also, whether or not it was with Naeem's family, the choice, or Paul's choice, it didn't really matter. If he felt that this space was suitable, I felt that we were happy to offer it.
Many of the images that Paul X Walsh paints in Auckland are on public buildings, so eventually they get painted over by him or by other artists. The image that will be painted here at Pomeroy's is on a private building, so it will become a lasting memorial to what happened in Christchurch on March the 15th. One idea that Paul X Walsh has been thinking about is a tribute to all the victims.
The one I'd love to do in Christchurch would be not so much portrait work, but 50 flowers, for example, is one idea that I've been floating, sort of international flowers from around the world in a similar style within a space.
Naeem Rashid's widow, Ambreen, says an image by Paul X Walsh in Christchurch will be very welcome.
It will encourage the feeling of mutual coexistence, love between all the humans.
Ambreen Rashid also lost her eldest son Tala in the attacks. She likes the idea of 50 flowers, but she also wants Mr Walsh to be able to express himself in his paintings.
Artists usually make things out of their own love. I would always encourage what they like, and I'm not someone to tell him that you make this or that. It's whatever he will make it out of his own love.
Paul X Walsh says before he even lifts a spray can, he'll consult with the Rashid family as well as the local Muslim community in Christchurch. For Checkpoint, called Joanna Mackenzie Aho.
And Alex Perrottet, Annika Smith also contributed that story, along with camera operators Simon Rogers and Nick Munro.